Hey guys, how are you today? Bruce from Jenner Custom Toys coming at you with part two of the homemade reusable resin video. Today I'm going to show you how to use it, and it should be pretty fun. So let's get into that and give you a shot of my workbench here. I'll get down in the corner again like last time. Here I am. Alright, this is our resin that we showed you how to make in the last video. As you can see, it's stuck in there. It's not going to come out. It has the consistency of a very hard, or not hard, but and I can never figure out how to describe this to people, how it feels. But it's like a rubbery, it's like mold compound. You can see it's flexible, and it's ready to go. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to put our, well, first we got to decide what we're going to mold. So we're going to set this aside. I'm going to show you what to do with that. First thing we're going to do is I just grabbed a figure at random. I use red Solo cups. No plug intended. Actually, this isn't even Solo. But I use a red cup. And the mold we're going to make, we're going to fill this up. And when it comes out, the mold's actually going to sit upside down. So you got to picture whatever you're going to make. I picked this stupid figure from Star Wars. Whatever you're going to make for the mold, you want it to be upside down when you put it in here. So you see, I'm going to put it in there just like that. And the easiest way to do it, I picked the easiest figure there was to do. There's other things to take into consideration. There's venting, and dogs are going nuts upstairs. There's venting. If it's a more complicated figure, you have to pay attention to where your air bubbles are going to go when you fill it full of your resin. But we can get into all that later. I'm just going to do a simplified version today. I'm just going to put a little bit of hot glue on this guy's head here. This is a low temperature glue. And then I'm going to put them down there upside down right in the center of my cup. If you can see that. And I'm going to sit here and hold it till it dries, about a minute. And we're going to fast forward through some of this stuff. But anyway, I was talking about air bubbles. Air bubbles will get up in there. You have to study what you're molding and picture in your head when it fills up with a liquid where air bubbles might get stuck at. And in that case, you'd want to, what they call, vent it. Now, I use plastic straws or wooden dowel rods. I'll hot glue them to the figure and make them go up so that air can escape through that. And I'm going to show you that in another video another time. Right now, I just want to do the quick version. Like I said, this is just you use a low temperature hot glue. Don't use the high temperature hot glue from one of these guns here. These guns are too hot. You don't want to use one of those. You see my little bitty glue gun here works fine. Okay, now in the time I've been talking to you, it's been out 45 seconds. That guy's ready. That's all you got to do for a simple mold. Now we're going to get to the good part and show you how to use this resin. I'm going to put this in the resin, in the microwave for about 2.5 minutes. For this much. That's the batch we just made in the last video. We're going to put it in the microwave for 2 minutes on high. I'll be right back. You don't need to wait for that 2 minutes. Okay, it's been 2 minutes. I just took it out of the microwave. It's relatively hot. I decided I want to put it in this container here just to make it easier to pour in that little bitty cup. As you can see, it's liquid. So we're going to go ahead and pour that in here. See, it's looking out. You see now the whole center didn't completely melt. It's still hard. And you might not need that, so I'm just going to leave that in here. You don't have to pour it into another container. I just prefer to use the spout on this to fill this up. Now, this is kind of touch and go. You want to make sure it's not super hot. It won't hurt the molding compound if it gets too hot. You never want to boil it. What I like to do is I'll microwave it for 2 minutes, and then you see this piece here that was left over. I'll stir it, and the heat of this will actually dissolve that a little more. And then if I still have to hit it for another 30 seconds at a time to get it all molten, if I need it all, then I'll do that. But for today, I think we have plenty here. You just want to make sure it's not, this glass is warm to the touch. It's not hot. You see it's liquidy. We're going to pour it in here now. Now, if it is too hot, what will happen is it'll melt your hot glue, and what you're molding will let go, and it'll just kind of float there and become useless, and then you got to start over. So, just like if you do any other molding, it's the same thing. You just pour your compound in it slowly around your figure. I try to do a high pour like this. It tends to get some of the air bubbles out of it. And as you can see, it's filling up my mold. And I don't think this is too hot. And the more you use this, you'll see it'll get darker from dirt. That's okay. The last batch I had lasted me 2 years, and I'm actually still using it. So I'll set that up to the top, and you can see the air bubbles are still coming up. Now there's two ways you can get this to get solidified and ready to use. You can put it in the refrigerator. Well, three ways if it's wintertime. I'd put mine out in the back porch. But you can put this in the refrigerator for about an hour, hour and a half. You can stick it outside. Or you can just leave it like it is. If you've got something to do, go grocery shopping or something, come back. At room temperature, it'll take about 4 or 5 hours to get to where you can use it again, where it'll go back to that flimsy or the rubbery stuff that I showed you at the beginning of this video. This particular one, I'm going to go ahead and throw it in my cooler, refrigerator back there, and then I'll take it out in about an hour and we'll continue with this video. So that's where the step we are right now, is cooling this down, and I'll show you how to cut it open. We're going to pour this puppy tonight. Okay, it has been a day actually. Got a little busy last night. I had to make 10 pieces for somebody for an eBay order, so I didn't get to finish this video, and you're not even going to know that. Oh, anyway, it was ready. About an hour and a half in the refrigerator. I took it out, and it was ready. And you can see it's nice and firm. Well, you'll feel it's nice and firm when you do it yourself. And now we're going to show you what to do for the next step and get this puppy filled and put in the pressure pot to make our figure. See if I can do this without cutting it. I'll have to cut this part out maybe. There we go. Shrink myself. And there's the video. Yeah, you can tell I'm an amateur at the video stuff too. Alright, there we go. Anyway, like I said, hour and a half in the fridge. This is what we got. Got a red Solo cup. Get your X-Acto knife. Here's how I like to do it. You can do it any way you feel safe. You can use scissors. You can use a knife. You want to cut little notches around the whole edge. Like this. I mean, if you made molds before, this is pretty much the same as making a regular mold from now on, but I'm going to go ahead and finish it for you just so you know what's going on. And we'll peel this off. Now, I'm going to show you something I think is really neat, especially when you're working with the new molding compound that you just made. Let's get rid of this garbage. And the garbage can. Now, check this out. Look how clear that is. Can you see how clear it is? You can actually see in there. Now that's going to help you later when you fill it full of resin, because you'll be able to actually see where air bubbles might be trapped in there. Now in time, as you reuse this over and over and over again, it will get cloudy. And you can see this one actually came out pretty good. It kind of looks like he's frozen in carbonite, doesn't it? That might make a nice display if you put the right figure in there. Okay, but you see it's nice and bouncy and rubbery. So here's what we're going to do. You want to look for your factory seal. The factory seal from the original mold, which in this case is down each side. So what we want to do is, when this is done, we want it to open up like a book, like this, like that, and then our figure will be laying in there like in a coffin. Peel them out, and we reclose it to fill it full of resin. So I'm going to cut down through one side like this, tracing around the figure as carefully as I can. You don't want to damage your figure. And then off to the edge. See, I started the one side. Can you see how that's going? Go directly on the other side, and same thing. Just carefully trace down around the side of the figure. Now, some people like to go in a zigzag down through the side, so when you close it, it seals better. But if you keep your bottom sealed like a book, you don't necessarily have to do that. Now, as you can see, it's starting to peel apart. I will gently spread it and continue cutting down the side, trying to stay as close to the original seam as I can. And you'll see this is very easy to work with, especially when it's new. I'm just using an X-Acto knife and tracing the seam, and you can see how nice it's just gently pulling away without any issues. I'm going to go ahead and finish cutting this like that instead of spending the whole video. And as soon as I get it cut out, we'll continue from there. So hang on for 1 second, be right back. Okay, here you can see I got it all cut down on each side. Like I said, it's opening like a book. I'm going to wiggle my figure. You got to be careful. Sometimes on the armpits it likes to stick a little bit. So you want to get your thumb in there and gently, leave that piece in there. And gently come off the bottom here. There we go. Close it back up. And you can see it'll close right on the line you just made. And you can even see your little figure in there. I got a glare on it. You can even see your little figures in there. We're ready to fill this full of resin now. So the next step you do, get yourself some masking tape. You can use rubber bands if you want to do this part. I prefer masking tape because the rubber bands sometimes just get stuck in the resin and it gets ruined and you're out of rubber bands. Close it gently. Now I'm not putting this tape on tight. You can see it's loose, but it's just enough to hold those two seams together. And I like to do about 2 or 3 rows. I put one on the bottom where I stopped cutting. Just gently, just a little bit of tension to hold that in there. Not real tight. Now if you're using the Umu 30, it's a tougher rubber. You probably do make them tighter if you do it this way. You can use masking tape, painter's tape. You don't want to use duct tape or anything like that. Just a light tape. And see, I'm putting 3 around this just so I can make sure it's perfect. And then I can see my seam that I cut right here is together completely. It's lined up nice. The rest of it's lined up on the sides. I'm ready to put some resin in there, and that's what we're going to do next. Okay, now it's time to put in the resin into the mold. Then we're going to put it in our pressure pot and leave it sit overnight, and tomorrow we will unveil it and see what happens. If you don't have a pressure pot, that's okay. This is what I'm getting to. I got another tip I want to show you. I've already mixed the resin. It's right here. It's this right here. It's amazing clear cast resin. It's my favorite. I'm not getting paid to plug them or anything. It just happens to be what I use. I've tried other resins before. This one's nice because it doesn't leave a lot of fumes if you don't have real good ventilation. There's a polyurethane clear resin that comes out crystal clear that I found at one of the craft stores around here, and I use that sometimes in the summer whenever I can ventilate properly because it's stinky. But this stuff works really good, as you're going to see. Now, if you don't, you can do this with or without a pressure pot. I did it for a couple years without a pressure pot. And if you saw the first video, you know I made a pressure pot. If you don't have a pressure pot, I'm going to show you a little trick. This is a coffee cup about half full of water, and I heated it up, not boiled it, but I heated it up for about 1.5 minutes in the microwave. So it's a little hotter than tap water. Now I've already mixed my resin right here. It's a 50-50 mix, part A, part B. If you got this far in the video, you probably understand that, and I'm not going to over-explain it. But take your resin after you mix it, and we're going to set it right there in that water. Also make sure your cup's plastic so it won't, fall apart like a paper cup would. We're going to leave that sit there for about 5 minutes. And I'm going to show you what it does. It makes it a lot easier to pour. And I'll see you in 5 minutes. And we're back again. Now it's been about 5 minutes. I haven't even touched this actually. Oh, I need a paper towel. Always keep paper towels handy whenever you're doing this kind of work because it's easy to make a mess. When you get goop all over your hands and you don't want to touch everything. You get a paper towel. So I'm going to take my cup out of the hot water with my resin in it. Dry the bottom as best you can. You don't want to get water in the resin. That would be bad. But if you can see this resin, all the bubbles in this resin have risen to the top, and they're actually stuck on that stick right there. So we don't need the stick anymore. We're going to throw that away. That's if you're not using a pressure pot. Even if you are, though, if you can see how liquidy this is, this actually makes it thinner and easier to work with. And that's why I like to put it in the hot water. So I still do that to this day, whether I use a pressure pot or not. So now we're ready to fill the mold. And you just pour it in the hole here. Like I said, this is a very simple mold. I didn't bother venting it because I wanted to just get the point across with the video. I'm going to fill this mold about halfway up. And it's also a good thing about this compound, you can see through it. So I can actually see how much I'm putting in there. Alright, that's about halfway. That's a little more than half. But it's still going to work. And what you're going to do, I don't know how well this is going to show up on light and I can't tilt it. But you peek through the holes here and you see where your air bubbles are. Now, I can see right now I got air bubbles in the hand. Little squeeze. And you can see I'm working that bubble right out. Those are the ones that probably won't come out on your pressure pot. As far as the little tiny ones, don't sweat it. They'll come out either way. But the big ones, you want to give a little squeeze. Make sure you get the resin in there. And you can see it filling up. And that looks pretty good right there. So I'm going to go ahead and top it off. Now, some figures are a lot harder than others to do. And maybe I'll do a video on teaching you how to vent these. But for today, I just wanted to do a quick simple mold. Show you how to use this compound. And the last thing I want to talk about is I want to do cleanup. Talk about cleanup, how easy it can be or how easy it can't be. Now I've got a little extra resin and I don't like throwing that away, so I'm going to, hold on. I keep these molds, these molds sitting around for, there's one from yesterday. I keep these molds sitting around. I put extra resin in it instead of throwing it in the garbage because it's a waste. And you can get these little things. This is particularly Han Solo and carbonite. So I'm just going to pour my excess resin in this. And sometimes it's enough to make one, sometimes it's not. But the good thing about resin is you can put a little bit in there, and then if you have extra the next time, you can still add to it. And then instead of throwing it away, you got an extra piece so you can make it into a keychain or whatever your imagination tells you. This is actually going to be enough to make a full Han Solo and carbonite, so got a bonus. Okay, so next step on this is we're going to put it in the resin pod, which if you saw my first video, you know how to put it in the resin pod. I did that, so we're not going to go over that. What we're going to go over now is cleanup. This resin, this is the pan, if you remember. This is the first cup, first container I used to mix it up in that I actually had to dump out. If you spill this on your table, don't go wiping it up because it's just going to smear all over the place. Let it harden. It'll take an hour or so to harden, and then if you see what I'm doing, it picks, look at that, it peels right off like skin. So, and then, you know, you can add this to your pot with the rest of your leftovers and still use it because it's reusable. Same on your tables or whatnot. If you get some on your table, on your work mat, don't go wiping it off. Wait till it dries, peel it off, and then throw it back in your, then you got a clean area to work with, and you got your leftovers thrown back in with your molding compound to use again. So I'm going to put this in a pressure pot, let it sit overnight. I'll be back tomorrow. You'll know it in about a minute. I'll be back tomorrow. We're going to see how these came out and we'll end the video. And that's what we're doing. See you in a bit. Okay, so it's been overnight, and apparently it's a day for mistakes for me because I have been doing nothing but screwing everything up. I actually did the unveiling. I opened up the pressure pot and opened up the mold already. I already did this part of the video, and I forgot to turn the microphone on, so it's completely muted. I didn't feel like shrinking myself down like I did on the resin pot videos or the pressure pot video. So I'm going to tell you what I got. I opened up the pressure pot, which you didn't need to see that anyway. It's in the other video, how to make this and how to use it. I took it out of the pressure pot, took the tape off, and I pulled my figure out. It comes out, I mean, it was easy. I just opened it like this, and the figure was laying in there. I took it out. We'll just pretend we're doing it again. And I want to remind you, when you do that and you get your figure out of the mold, make sure every little bit of resin is out of here that you can, because you are going to remelt this. You can actually use this to make about another 2 or 3 figures total is what I usually use these for. You can make more or you can make less. I kind of prefer to make a new mold for every time I make a casting. That way it's guaranteed to come out nice. You know, you see he's got a little hat on there. That's a little flaring. That we'll trim that off. Here's the original figure, and here's the one I just made. It picks up the details very nice. But yeah, get all the resin out of there, and then, you know, we can tape this back together and make another one, which I'm not going to do because I don't need another one of those. Or you just put it back in the pot, melt it in the microwave, start all over again. You see how clear this is? It'll stay that way for quite a few uses, but it'll slowly start to get darker. Dirt from your hands, dirt from your shop, dirt from some of the figures you're using them in. And it will turn into this. I guess like this is 2 years old. I'm still using it. You can't see through it though. What I like about the new stuff is you can see through it when you pour your resin in there. You can see where the air bubbles are, and you can squeeze and squeeze and squeeze and pop them out. But the pressure pot should take care of that anyway. Now, we did a very simple figure this time because I just wanted to go through it with the basics. There's another thing that it's called venting, which some molds have to have vents so air bubbles don't get trapped in certain spots. This particular figure I knew wasn't going to need vented because I wanted to go through it quickly. If you're interested in learning how to vent, leave a comment down below, and maybe I'll make another video with a more complicated figure and show you all how to vent. Other than that, that's about it. That's all I have for you. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. Share it with your friends if you belong to a group or something. Feel free, go ahead and share that. I don't get paid for this, so a like would be appreciated. Leave a comment, leave a question. I just enjoy the craft, and with this COVID going on, a lot of people are taking up crafts and time killers whenever they're at home because they can't go do what they used to. And so I'm just trying to teach you all stuff that I've already learned. I don't know everything. There's no way I know everything. I'm not a know-it-all. But what I do know is what I know, and I had to get started trying to help some other people get started too, if this is what you're into. Anyway, I'm done. Thank you very much. I appreciate you watching the video, and I hope I helped you. I'll see you next time.